The alarm clock screams, it's 7:30 a.m., another beautiful day in Paris. Or at least, that's what the guidebooks say. Our Parisian, let's call him Jean-Pierre, yawns and drags himself out of bed. He doesn't need a weather forecast. If he can see the Eiffel Tower from his window, it's not raining. First things first, coffee. Not the burnt offering they dare to call coffee in some countries. This is Paris. We're talking about a velvety, smooth café au lait that could seduce a statue. Jean-Pierre throws on some clothes and heads to his local café, a charming little place with more regulars than a dog-walking convention. He orders his usual, a café au lait and a croissant, and settles down to watch the city wake up. The aroma of freshly baked bread mingles with the exhaust fumes of passing scooters. The day is off to a roaring start. After breakfast, it's time for the daily commute. The Paris metro, a marvel of engineering, they say. Also, a sardine can on wheels during rush hour. Jean-Pierre expertly navigates the crowds, dodging tourists who have mistaken the platform for a photo booth. He finds a sliver of space, just enough to unfold his newspaper and pretend he's not pressed against a mime who smells vaguely of onions. Ah, the joys of public transportation. At least it's an opportunity to catch up on current events, or in Jean-Pierre's case, to check if his favorite football team won last night. Finally, after what feels like a geological age, he arrives at his station. He emerges onto the street, blinking in the sunlight, grateful to be free from the crush of humanity. Now to face the day. Jean-Pierre works in a small publishing house, tucked away on a quiet street. Well, as quiet as a street in Paris can be. His office might not be glamorous, but it has its perks. Like the fact that it's within walking distance of at least 3 bakeries. Priorities, people. The work itself is, well, it's work. There are emails to answer, manuscripts to read, and the occasional existential crisis to be had over the meaning of life and the correct usage of the subjunctive mood. But hey, at least he's not stuck in a cubicle farm, right? Besides, there's always time for a coffee break with his colleagues, because in France, a coffee break isn't just a break, it's practically a constitutional right. Lunchtime in Paris, a sacred time, a time for indulging in a meal that would make a cardiologist faint. Jean-Pierre joins the throngs of office workers, tourists, and the odd poodle or two, all heading towards their chosen eatery. He opts for a classic Parisian bistro, a place with red-checked tablecloths, walls adorned with faded movie posters, and a menu that hasn't changed since the 1950s. Steak frites it is. Because when in Rome, or rather Paris, one must eat as the Romans, or rather Parisians, do. The food is simple, hearty, and delicious. The conversation with his colleagues is lively, filled with good-natured gossip and complaints about the government. Because if there's one thing the French love more than food, it's complaining. As the sun begins its descent, casting a golden glow over the city, Jean-Pierre finds himself with a couple of hours to kill before dinner. He could go home, but why rush? Paris is a city best enjoyed at a leisurely pace. He strolls along the banks of the Seine, watching the boats glide by. He might stop by a bookstore, browsing the shelves for his next literary adventure, or perhaps he'll meet up with friends in a park, sharing a bottle of wine and watching the world go by. Because that's the thing about Paris, it's a city that invites you to slow down, to savor the moment, to appreciate the simple things in life. As night falls, the City of Lights truly lives up to its name. The Eiffel Tower twinkles in the distance, casting its magical spell over the city. Jean-Pierre has a dinner date with his girlfriend because even cynical, football-loving Parisians have hearts. They choose a small, intimate restaurant, the kind that only locals know about. The food is exquisite, the wine flows freely, and the conversation sparkles more brightly than the lights of the Eiffel Tower. Later, they might catch a movie, go dancing, or simply wander the streets hand in hand, enjoying the magic of Paris after dark. Because in this city, even an ordinary day can feel extraordinary.